when looking out on the world today, it seems to be so chaotic. I know in my lifetime and in the past 30, 40 years, the level of technology that the increase and what it's done for the way we relate to each other has just been mind blowing. I don't think any of us really understood that, especially someone who's lived before the internet and then after the internet. A lot of people don't understand what it's like to, use a landline phone, or when there's only one phone number in the house and everybody picks up and you can hear, if my phone, it's just the way we related then was very different than now. And there's still some common threads in relationship, and that this world is, like the Course says, is a world that's built on attack and war. So if you think about it too, I've been thinking about this. I've done some research on, they talked to, was there like an Eden at many thousands of years ago in Africa? There seemed to be a lot of harmony. They said the goddess, the feminine, was very much worshipped. They had discovered at that time psilocybin mushrooms. There's art, and there's, or at least, imagery that they can piece together. Was there ever a time that we lived in peace? It's really begs a really interesting question for us. And what does it take to be at peace? I think we need to understand the nature of attack and defense and how the Course sums it up. And the way the Course says it is very unique in this, because I've seen this even in spiritual circles and people in, whether it's training centers, whether it's certain modalities. I've been to ashrams where it's like this hierarchy of humans, and, of I have something and you're trying to take what I have, or it's important for me to get more than you because in the hierarchy I need to win, or, all of this, what the Course would call defenses, where we're constantly obsessed about our lot in life and what we have and what other people can take, and what, and you see this happening on large scale on countries. Some people say it's this country, it's that country, it's this person, and really it's the ego is playing out all around the world, because the world is the home of the ego, or at least, let's say it like this. The world, the way that we're born into it, how we see it, is seen through the lens of the ego. The world itself is neutral, but our point of view of the world is never neutral. And we're either going to see the world to heal and to bless and to give, or we're going to see the world as a force outside of us that's constantly pitting against us, or that's trying to rob my kingdom from me. Which brings me to one of my favorite lessons. Since the early days of me studying the Course, I remember even the teacher I learned the Course from would say this is one of their favorite lessons. And for those that are hearing the Course for the first time, it's written in the masculine, because it's mainly, the book is mainly like a Shakespearean pose, or, a Shakespearean type wording, but it's not just masculine. Obviously it's universal. And this lesson is, there's a lesson every day for the entire year. And this lesson is lesson 135. So it would be, if you started January 1st, it'd be the 135th day of the year you would read this lesson. I want to just talk about maybe the first two paragraphs, and then bring it into some of our topics around fear and what defenses look like. And this lesson says, if I defend myself, I am attacked. So the very act of me even putting up a defense makes the attack real. Which you have all these countries, and listen, I understand in the world, we need boundaries, we need laws, like I get that. In the form of the world, all that stuff's needed. The idea that we're all going to just look at each other equally, not to say that human beings maybe can't get to that place, but we're not anywhere near that right now. And the ego has no plan for that at all. So, but this idea of, if I defend myself, I'm attacked. Think of it from an internal place, like our thoughts and our heart. Who would defend himself unless he thought he were attacked, that the attack were real, and that his own defense could save himself? Now, this is so profound when you understand this. This is why I couldn't even tell you the last time I even got in a fight with someone, because I wouldn't, it makes no sense, because listen to what, anytime you react to someone, this is exactly what you're doing. What the Course is saying, the question is asked is, who would defend himself? Nobody would ever defend themselves unless they thought that they were attacked, okay? That the attack itself was real. If you thought you were attacked, but the attack was fake, nobody would defend themselves over a fake attack. It's imaginary. If you thought he were attacked, that the attack were real, and that his own defense is what's going to save him from the attack, which is what people, when they get in reaction and conflict, this is what they're doing. They think if I yell back at you and I fight back, that's going to save me. But it really doesn't. All it does is it makes an imaginary attack seem real. Because you can't be attacked. The only way you could be physically attacked. Like bodies can attack each other. I mean, I've done martial arts. My life, I've gotten into a fight before. Somebody could come up and slap you in the face. You're like, ow, my face hurts. But no matter what, if I came up to you and I screamed the worst profanities in the world right in front of your face, it really is just waves, as sound waves. It does nothing. It only does something if your thoughts interpret it. Now, who would defend himself unless he thought he were attacked, that the attack were real, and that his own defense could save himself? And herein lies the folly, the joke, the folly, like it doesn't work. Herein lies the folly of defense. It gives illusions full reality and then attempts to handle them as real. It gives illusions full reality and then attempts to handle them as though they're real, which is what everybody's doing every time they lose a piece, really. It adds illusions to illusions. So, like, let's give an example. Let's say you say something to me, and I now made what you said real, even though it's not. It's your interpretation, which is not true in the first place. Now I take it like it's real. Then I try to figure out a defense to save myself from its reality, which then adds illusions to illusions, making the idea that I even need to protect myself or save myself, which is also an illusion. Now it adds that illusion to the illusion that I was attacked. Thus, so it adds illusions to illusions, thus making correction doubly difficult. And it is this you do. Now, this is the kicker. These are the defenses. And it is this you do when you attempt to plan the future, activate the past, or organize the present as you wish. All of those, Jesus says in the Course, are defenses. So think about this. Because you have to see yourself as weak, or we said in previous podcasts that God, spirit, source, life will not provide for you. So it's up to me to make my provisions for myself. So basically what I'm attempting to do is make provisions for myself. What he's saying is, it's this you do when you attempt to plan the future. Any plans. Now, let's make a distinction here. That doesn't mean I don't plan, like if I have to catch let's say the plane, and I got to take a Uber or taxi. Of course I have to plan. But this is like, oh my gosh, what if the plane crashes and everything falls apart? Like that's like the ego thought of fear of separation. So he says, it adds illusions to illusions, thus making correction doubly difficult. It is this you do when you attempt to plan the future, activate the past, or organize the present as you wish. You operate from the belief you must protect yourself from what is happening because it must contain what threatens you. A sense of threat is an acknowledgement of an inherent weakness, a belief that there's danger which has power to call on you to make appropriate defense. The world is based on this insane belief, and all its structures, all its thoughts and doubts, its penalties and heavy armaments, its legal definitions and its codes, its ethics and its leaders and its gods, all serve but to preserve its sense of threat. For no one walks the world in armature. No one walks the world protecting themselves. For no one walks the world in armature but must have terror striking at his heart. No one would walk around protecting themselves unless they have terror striking at their heart. And that's what you see on the world today. Everybody's walking around. And I love this, right? The world's based on this insane belief. All its structures, all its thoughts and doubts, its penalty and heavy armaments, its legal definitions and its codes, its ethics and its leaders and its gods, all serve but to preserve. So all serve only to preserve its sense of threat. That's why we have all this, because everybody's walking around with this internal sense of threat, and they're activating the past through their wounds and all their childhood traumas, and everyone's got it, right? They're organizing the present as you wish. People literally sit around all day and just think about what they want and their comfort and all. It's literally, they want every moment to just be about their own satisfaction. And the people who do that are miserable, and they attempt to plan the future, which later in this lesson, it says, which is amazing, a healed mind does not plan. It carries out plans through listening to wisdom that's not its own. It doesn't rely on itself except its ability to fulfill the plans assigned to it. So it waits until it's taught what to be done and then does it. So what Jesus says in the Course is that if you start listening to the Holy Spirit, asking for guidance, the Holy Spirit is going to have you demonstrating miracles, and you're going to be guided very specifically on what to do. And it's always about expressing love. Could you imagine if all of our politicians and our religious leaders and all the different religions and all the world leaders thought about it from this perspective? They would start to see that the real power is in being defenseless. The real power is the one that comes without defenses and only extends love. If people started to have that be what they're after, the world would shift. And it's only until that happens. What people don't realize is they're weakening themselves by thinking that there's any force out there that can hurt them except their thoughts.